Hi guys, my name's CL Creech. I am the author, creator, and publisher of One Last Quest, which we've been reading so far. If you'd like to purchase the book, you can do so at the link in the description. Or if you'd like to go back and hear the other chapters, feel free. If you don't go back and listen to the other chapters, or if you haven't been reading along, then you're probably going to be pretty confused. We're starting today on chapter 12, which I'll be reading from here. Chapter 12, Phantom Eagle. Danny slowly began to open his eyes. His vision was very blurry, but he could recognize the faces of Jackie, Michelle, and Kelly standing over him. He wasn't completely sure what happened. He just knew he had a terrible headache. "Are you back with us?" Jackie asked. Jackie was genuinely concerned for her friend. His eyes bounced around as if he was dizzy and trying to get his bearings. Due to her training, she was confident he had at least some sort of concussion. Danny slowly shook his head back and forth before saying, "Yeah." Jackie didn't believe him. She thought it was best to ask him a few questions to make sure he knew who he was and where he was. "Where are we?" Jackie asked. "Greythorne," Danny replied. Jackie rolled her eyes. She knew this was not going to be good. "If we're in Greythorne, who are you?" Jackie asked. "The king of the realm," Danny said with a smile before closing his eyes and passing out. Jackie tried smacking Danny in the face a couple of times. He wiggled around with a grunt, but didn't wake up right away. Jackie knew he was hurt, but she was confident he'd be okay. It'd just take a bit of time. "Looks like he has a small concussion. He should be fine. Rick's back at camp making breakfast. I'll get him to grab a cold compress from the first aid kit after we get Danny back to camp." Jackie stood up and looked back and forth between Kelly and Michelle, who were still both naked and covering their chests and groins with their hands. In all the excitement, they hadn't had time to put their clothes back on. "So what happened?" Jackie asked. Kelly didn't think it was appropriate to tell Jackie the entire truth due to the private conversation she had with Michelle. She felt it wasn't her place to openly talk about Michelle's personal issues. "We were over there," Kelly said, nodding toward the shallow area of the lake where they'd been. "We saw a really large bird fly over. It looked like an eagle. It was beautiful. Next thing we know, we heard Danny scream and ran over to check on him, just like you did." Jackie took a minute to look over the lake and then up at the sky. She could tell Kelly wasn't telling the truth, but she knew there had to be a reason behind her deception. "Okay," Jackie said, picking up on the lies in Kelly's story while looking over both Michelle and Kelly's body language. "Not that I'm complaining, but why are you naked?" Kelly became even more flustered and started trying to come up with a reasonable explanation. "I was, just trying to commune with nature, Michelle. Well, Kelly began to explain. Michelle could tell Kelly was struggling, so she decided to help out. "We were skinny dipping," Michelle interrupted. Jackie was satisfied with Michelle's explanation. Jackie thought skinny dipping was a lot of fun and see why they'd want to do it. "Well, why didn't you say so?" Jackie said with a big grin. Jackie decided that she couldn't let Michelle and Kelly have all the fun. She began to walk toward the water while taking her clothes off, revealing her naked body. "What are you doing?" "I can't let you guys have all the fun without me," Jackie replied. Michelle became concerned for Danny as it's supposed to be Jackie. Michelle became concerned for Danny as Jackie dived headfirst into the shallow water. What about Danny?" Michelle asked. "He'll be fine for a bit," Jackie replied as she stood up out of the water. "We can let him rest for a few minutes. It'll do him some good." Jackie splashed around in the water for a couple minutes as Kelly and Michelle looked on before standing up in waist-deep water and looking back at the others. "Come on, guys. I feel like doing some diving," Jackie said with a big grin on her face. Kelly and Michelle just stared at each other for a moment before reaching for their clothes. "What? What'd I say? Come back!" Jackie asked confusedly. Alright, guys, I know this was probably the shortest chapter we've done so far, but that's chapter 12. Yeah, Jackie is a bit of a pervert. Guys, thank you guys so much for following along, and I'll be back tomorrow with chapter 13. We'll find out what happened when they get back to camp. Bye, guys.